people joke around like, maybe you should take steroids so you can fill in the loose skin. And I'm like, y'all, if I would have to look like Ronnie Coleman, like level, like 300 pounds of muscle to fill in my loose skin.
Oh, I want to ask you this. Aside from the physical changes that you've made, like losing weight, were there other positive changes that you made or noticed since losing the weight and like keeping it off? Aside from like, obviously you can walk up the stairs, your cardio, all that's great. But like, what else is there? Like maybe societal, mental, that kind of stuff.
So, I mean, there's tons of like little things. And these are things, honestly, that you'll hear like health at every size advocates kind of, I don't want to say complain about, but like their things are like, I can find clothes at any store that I shop at now, which might sound like a small thing, but I couldn't find clothes anywhere. And that was like really frustrating to me because I don't think I have the best fashion sense, but I've been someone that's always cared about it or like wanted to look nice. And it was very difficult when you're overweight. It's like, hey, here's a Hawaiian shirt. Oh, sick, dude. Thanks. Yeah, I want to wear that, you know? So like little things like that. But then more than anything, even more than the weight, honestly, is I am so much more confident. And now I'm not saying that losing weight equals more confidence because it doesn't. But for me personally, the reason that I feel more confident is because this was a huge challenge in my life that I have faced my entire life. And I beat it, right? I slayed the dragon. And so that gave me confidence, not the losing the weight. It's the slaying of the dragon that I did that made me realize, oh, there's these other dragons walking around that I could walk up to and slay if I wanted to, right? Whatever that might be in my life, I have the confidence that if I put my mind to it, I can do it. And so that has been the biggest thing. And then there's like little things like, you get more attention from the opposite sex. Like I'm not going to sit here and lie and say like, oh, I don't get
and
more
the same
attention.
sex.
Like, yeah, of course.
I'm
yeah.
sure.
I mean, you get more attention. Like you just do. And I think when people say you don't, they're lying. People care about how you look. It just is what it is. And so that's obviously nice if that's something that you're, interested in. But again, I will say if losing weight turns you into a complete jerk, it's not going to help that much. Like, so, be careful there.
I think with confidence, for me, confidence comes from being able to tackle or overcome what's been thrown at you multiple or repeated times. So if you've been given or handed some kind of shit scenario and you deal with it, which is uncomfortable, it's stressful, and you come out on top, and then it happens again. You lose your job and you get another one. You fail a test and you study and you come back. You miss the basketball shot and then you go out and you make it next time and you don't give up. You ask the girl out, the guy out, the circle out. No. And then you come back and ask someone else and you break up and you keep doing this over and over again. It's like, bring it. And that builds you confidence. I feel like for me, I'm so much more confident when I was younger, not because I look a certain way. Like I could lose all this and I still feel like be confident because so many times something's been thrown at me. I've had a lot of shit to deal with and I end up coming out great or okay. And it's like knowing that means, well, whatever happens, I'll deal with it and I'll be fine. And if you can believe in yourself and do that, that's to me where the confidence comes from. So losing weight, that's just another thing you overcame. The marathon, doing the next triathlon. And as you get older, like older than you and you'll be even more confident because you're going to keep being successful.
Yeah. And like the thing, my favorite thing about confidence is like the freedom that comes along with it. Like I'm sure people that are watching this video, I'm sure there's already comments about my freaking hair, right? Do you think when I was 400 pounds, I would have done this to my hair? I wouldn't have. Like, that's the answer. It wouldn't have happened. I would have wanted to. This is something I've wanted to do for a long time. I've just always thought it was cool. And I was like, yeah, it'd be fun to do that. But I was always, I was like, well, what would people think? Blah, blah. Now, like, I know half the people watching this video are going to think it looks ridiculous and very stupid. That's fine. I like it. And that, you know what I mean? Like, it's just such an easy thing that I can point at. Like, you think I would do this if I wasn't confident? It's just not going to happen. I
thought you just did it to match the, like I'm looking at, was that ET over there?
No, this is baby Jabba the Hutt and baby Grogu here.
Yeah, I thought you were just balancing it out. I'm like, hey, it looks cool. It's matching. And it's like, why not do it? And it's funny. So many people won't put themselves out there. I'm like, man, I'm doing YouTube videos. You don't think I'm going to screw up and say the wrong thing and look like an idiot or have my hair in a mess and people are going to comment and just like, who cares? As soon as you stop caring about what other people think and what you think, you're going to have a much better life.
Yeah. And I mean, I know that these are all like platitudes that people say all the time, and it is much easier said than done. It's very easy to say, who cares what people think about you? But I mean, and I'm not saying that I never care. Like, I'm human. So like sometimes things get to me, but for the most part, especially if I believe that what I am doing is, one, being true to myself, and I feel like I am being kind, which is something that's really important to me. I have "be kind" tattooed on my hand. Like, if I truly believe that I am doing those things, I'm good. I'm good.
Awesome. Is there negatives like that we haven't even thought about that you could like maybe throw in for people that maybe they're going to start their weight loss journey, or they're halfway through, or they not? What is bad about it?
Mm-hmm. So the first thing with the loose skin, I will say, I mean, it can be a negative for people. And I fully can admit that there are some people that will never be able to be okay with it. And there's nothing wrong with that. There are surgeries to get rid of it. And if that's something that you want to do, I have, like, you do what you want. I do not care. Right. For
Would
me,
you do
though,
it? Would you do the surgery?
So for me, I've obviously given a lot of thought about it, right? I've had this loose skin for 7 years now. And for me right now, and in the foreseeable future, I have no plans on it because the surgery is very intrusive. It's just an intense surgery. And
so is it the recovery aspect, the money aspect, or just I don't give a shit? It's not that big a deal.
It's a mixture of that, and then it's served with a side of I don't care. So it's like there's so many negatives that can come out of it, and the positive will be I don't have loose skin. And it's important. I'm going on a rant now, but it's important because so many people think, oh, the positive is you are now happy with your body. It's not true. How many people do we see that get cosmetic surgery that aren't happy after they get the surgery? It's pretty large. So do you think that just because you have loose skin and you get rid of it, the recovery and like how people feel about it is going to be any different? It's not. I have friends that have had the surgery, and I'm not saying if you get the surgery, you're not going to be happy. Like, I'm just saying for myself, from what I have seen, the negatives still outweigh the positives. But who knows? Like, if I'm 50, 45, 50, maybe even 60, and I'm at a point where I'd like to get rid of this. Maybe it starts causing genuine issues and I start having pain, or I start getting sores or rashes or whatever, then sure. But right now, literally the most I have to do is wear compression when I run. That's it. So for me, I have no plans to get rid of it. And then as far as like other negatives, I think I have experienced negatives. And this is one of the things I saw that on the questions was talking about the way that I lost weight at the beginning was not healthy or sustainable. So I went from basically I treated calories as the enemy. And so it started good, which was what I call the common sense diet. So cutting out soda, junk food, fast food. But then it turned into, oh, I'm eating 2,000 calories. What if I eat 1,800? Oh, okay. What if I eat 16? What if I eat 12? What if I eat? And then I got to a point where I'm eating, 800 to 1,000 calories, and I'm working 2 jobs. And I got very used to the feeling of when you are sitting and you stand up, you're just going to be dizzy. Like, that just became very normal. And then I ended up struggling with binge eating disorder, which is very common in people that have lost a lot of weight, because you go from food being your crutch, it's when you're happy, when you're sad, everything, to you're taking it away. Right. But it's still there. And a lot of people, it manifests in binge eating disorder. So I struggled with that for a few years, which at the time I didn't know what it was. I just felt like I wasn't being dedicated enough. And so eventually I was able to kind of ratify that because I started lifting weights and started working out, and I was naturally like, I need to eat a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, there was definitely some negatives, and I think it's important to, talk about those things. And for me, the biggest one was the binge eating disorder. Like, when I was really struggling with it, I felt like I would never be quote unquote normal when it came to food. Like, I felt like I would always have to track. I would always have to be on my fitness pal. I'd always have to do this stuff. And I'm someone, even when I did track, and I'm a proponent of learning how to track, I hated it. I didn't enjoy it. It was never something that I loved doing. And so the thought of me being like, I have to do this for the rest of my life, I was like, there's just no way. And so
I think the key is to track, to get to the point of learning so that you can eat mindfully, which for me to explain to the viewer would just be to know what's in the foods you're eating and to just make smart choices about that. Like, I don't actually sit there and calculate calories all the time. Like, people think that I have my fitness palette. Like, I read the comments, I see videos. I don't track calories. Like, why would I need to do that? If I'm like under eating, I'm going to eat more. And if I overeat, I'm going to eat less. I can tell in the mirror basically every week. But I look at the cheesecake and I'm like, I know there's like a lot of calories there. And I look at that lower calorie one and I'm like, I'm picking that one because it's almost as good as that one. It's just a decision I make. It's almost as good. I don't need all the crap. I can just do without it. And if I have a diet pop and a regular pop, I'm having the diet pop. If I want to have vodka, I'm not putting it in orange juice. I'm going to put Neosquirt because it's not giving me cancer. I don't care. So like that's to me, it's just mindful eating. It's not just, oh my goodness, my fitness pal, I need to bring a Tupperware to go out and eat. I'm like the most normal, although I'm not normal at all, bodybuilder that's out there. Like my friends, you see me at a party, I'm like a normal person. Well, actually, I'm not very normal at a party. I'm always dancing. But anyway, I'm normal, like a human being that's not like, oh my goodness, sitting in the corner with my Tupperware. It's like, I'm normal.
So I am a huge proponent of what I have started calling mindful eating. So intuitive eating is a very popular thing. There's a whole book. People love to talk about it. I personally don't like calling what I do intuitive eating because it gets tied in with that stuff, which I just don't really like. People just being like, eat whatever you want. Because I come from a person that was a food addict, right? And so I had to learn, it's exactly what you said. I had to learn what macros are, what calories are, how many calories are in certain things. And for me, tracking for about 2 years really taught me a lot. I'm not saying everyone has to track for 2 years. I don't think you have to do it that long, but I was doing the physique show and all that stuff. But tracking taught me so much where I got to a point where I could be mindful. Like I haven't tracked in 5 years, 6 years, whenever I did the show. I haven't tracked a full day of eating in that long because I understand for a very basic amount how much calories are in certain things. And like I can make decisions like, okay, am I going to go get a whole bag of like deep fried chips, or will the pop chips that have less fat in it, if I end up eating the whole bag,
Popcorn.
Yeah, there you go. Like if I end up eating the whole bag, it's not going to be this huge calorie bomb. So it's just easy to pick, And so I think we have very similar philosophies when it comes to that as well.
Oh, yeah, I've seen enough of your videos that I know exactly what you're talking about. Maybe the viewers don't as much, but hopefully if you haven't subscribed, you should go follow this guy. If you want to know about weight loss, his great videos. I just want to plug that in because, not everyone's heard of you. Most probably have, but the ones who haven't, check them out. What exactly are your thoughts on PDs? I mean, I'm assuming you're natural. I mean, I don't want to say that you are, but I'm assuming you are. Not to say that you couldn't be. And frankly, some people would take it as an insult. Why don't you think I'm natural? Like when I said Will Tennyson's natural, he was like, you should assume I am. And I get that. But like, are you against it for yourself or other people? Like, that I'm not natural. I'm an HRT. I've abused stairs for years in the past. But like, what is your take on that? And would you ever do it in the future?
So I think I'm ruining the chance of this happening now, but I have tweeted multiple times that I am waiting for you to make a natty or not video on me, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. But no, yeah, I'm natural. I've never taken anything. I personally, for me, the way I look at fitness and like whatever you want to call this is, for me, it's about improving the quality of my life. And so I don't care to be super jacked. I don't like, people joke around like, maybe you should take steroids so you can fill in the loose skin. And I'm like, y'all, if I would have to look like Ronnie Coleman, like level, like 300 pounds of muscle to fill in my loose skin. But so for me, it comes to health. And from the research I've done, like they're, especially if you're not like really working with someone that knows exactly what you should be doing, like the chance of like some serious issues is just too high for me. And so I just I've never wanted to. And like, I think genetically, I'm actually pretty lucky. I feel like I put on muscle relatively easily. I don't know if that's a thing, but like, I feel
absolutely a thing. Yeah. I actually literally posted that video this morning discussing how different people have different abilities to gain muscle. Why, whether it's natural or with even low doses of PDs or high doses, it's very, very much a genetic base. So yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I've always like, even when I first started going to the gym, I mean, I was like kind of skinny fat, I guess, but I've always been able to look in the mirror and I was like, I have a pretty good amount of muscle and I don't want to get huge anyways. Like I enjoy being in the middle, having muscle, but can run and can bike and all this stuff. And so I'm just kind of cool where I am. So yeah, that's kind of
so I think what I'm hearing is it's not against your morals to do so, but it's more so I don't want it to negatively impact my health. So let's imagine that, hey, it's the future's coming. They invent a steroid that it's been proven by every doctor in the world. There's no harmful effects. Would you take it?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think maybe if I wasn't an online figure, because I feel like no matter how hard you try, and I know that you speak a lot that I take steroids. You say it all the time, right? But like no matter how hard you try, there are going to be people that find you that don't know it, and they're going to compare themselves to you, right? So if I was just Joe Schmo on the street that no one knew who I was, maybe, because like why not? But like knowing, especially the platform that I have has been based on losing all this weight and like getting healthy, right? And so if I were to do that and then people didn't know and they would compare themselves to me, I just don't think morally I could ever do that. But if I was just Joe Schmo, maybe but I don't know. Like it's hard for me to kind of like separate it, but yeah, it's interesting because a lot of it comes into like, I know people hate like society, but it really is, a lot of it is societal standards, right? Because say caffeine is a drug, like it absolutely is, right?
Exactly.
I have no problem abusing that. Like I drink coffee, I take pre-workout, I have no issue. Say if next year or tomorrow they're like, it's banned, you can't use it, it would be really hard for me to be like, oh, I can't do it, it's morally wrong. Because I'm like,
did you know it used to be banned?
Really?
I even know someone who failed the drug test for caffeine and they just overlooked it. They said, it's caffeine. Like bodybuilding contests for caffeine. If you were above a certain amount, like, I don't know, it was equal to maybe quite a bit, like say 5 cups of coffee or something like that, you would fail with that above a certain level in your system. And I'm like, caffeine is a drug. It is proven to work. 100% effective. It works, but it's not like some others, testosterone or something that also is proven to work. We know it's going to work, but this one's banned, this one's not banned. So it becomes like, do you accept it or not?
Yeah. I mean, and that's where it comes down to, right? Like as much as you might want to feel like you're your own person and you don't let other things like affect how you think, like the reason I think steroids are bad is because they're illegal, right? Like that's a big part of it. I would be lying if
you're in the United States. Mm-hmm. So see, that's a big, in Canada, it's legal. Mm-hmm. Like I can have steroids. I could have it right here. I could show you, and I could invite the police to my house and say, hey, what are you taking? And they can say, I take this many milligrams of test a week. 100% legal. So obviously you got to follow the rules of your country. See, but in my country, you can't sell it, but you can buy it and use it. So that's a different story. But what about, okay, let's just go into HRT, which would be prescribed by a doctor, like TRT, testosterone. Say you're 43 years old, you go and you get your blood work and you lose some more weight. You're doing all the triathlons and you're like, man, I'm getting really good at this. And they go in and they take your blood work and they find out that you have lower testosterone levels. Your sex drive is a bit lower. You're not sleeping as well. You're not recovering quite so well. You're really lean. Your body fat's down because when you lower body fat levels, your testosterone levels often go down with that. And so with lower testosterone, less performance. And the doctor's like, hey, I can write you a script here. Your testosterone, it's not optimized. Would you do that? And like Greg doses, like I'm on 120 milligrams a week. It's not like abusive. The doctors, I got the prescription with my name, the whole thing. What about that scenario?
So I will say it's hard to put myself in that position, to be honest, but like, I think that I probably would take the prescription and then maybe think for a while if like I actually want to take it. But I think again, like it all comes down to health for me, right? So if I feel like I am no longer healthy, and this thing will help me become healthy, then absolutely, right? If my sex drive is messed up, I can't, I have ED, I have all this stuff going on, then yeah, I don't see why not. And especially, I'm assuming at that point, I probably will no longer be an influencer, so it's not like people will even care, right? So it's like,
it could literally happen in 6 months from now. And I've coached people, they've dropped their testosterone levels just because they've lost so much weight. They hire me and their testosterone, they're 20 years old, they're kids. Mm-hmm. And they've got crashed testosterone levels. They've over dieted. They've done 6 months work with a doctor and they just can't get it up. And they're on HRT, 20 years old.
Yeah.
So it can happen to anyone. And some people get it, some people need testosterone, nothing to do with dieting. They're born that way. It happens.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, I feel like I have been lucky as far as like the side effects from my weight loss, because truly, if you do it in an unhealthy way, you can jack yourself up. Like you can mess up your gallbladder. You can there are so many issues, kidney stones, all of these things that can happen from losing weight in a very reckless way. That's a whole thing I talk about on my channel is like, let's talk about sustainability. How do we lose weight in a healthy way? Right. But so I've been lucky that I haven't had to deal with any of those things. But I mean, I think if I was feeling like trash, like, again, it always comes back to health. And if it makes me healthier, then of course it's like any drug, right? Like if I'm prescribed a drug that even if it's like for mental health, I don't have a problem taking that and I wouldn't feel bad taking that. So
yeah, and I think that's a good point. It's like it's a drug and it's for your health, mental health, physical. It's just as soon as people hear testosterone, there's this stigma that's negative about it, even though the doctor can say you need this for physical and mental health. Because another thing with lower testosterone levels is you can get depression, these different issues. So for me, I mean, mine is self-inflicted. I did it to myself by abusing testosterone. So this is not an ad to say, hey, go out and take testosterone. But if you take testosterone and you stop, it is hard. So once you've been used to that testosterone level, feeling like Superman, you take test away and then you're crash for months oftentimes. That is a tough several months to go on. Some people can't get erections. There's a lot of issues that go with that.
Yeah. And I mean, that's why again, like I sound like a broken record, but it's like it always comes back to health for me. And I've had friends, very close friends that abused, and people that have never had any sort of mental health issues ever, and they abused, came off, and like genuinely were in about as dark spot as you can get, if you get what I'm saying. Yeah. And so it's like all of that stuff has informed me to be like, unless it's necessary, right? Like the scenario you brought up earlier, I have no want, no need to even touch it. Like I'm good. Yeah.
Essentially it's like, why would I risk that when I know? Yeah. And I mean, the same thing would be about rec drugs. There's all kinds of drugs you can dig out there. Any drug is dangerous. You shouldn't abuse drugs. I mean, but if you do that, make that mistake and you need something and it's prescribed by a doctor, I mean, to me, that's a different story.
Yeah, I agree. Like even this is getting into other territory, but even, drug addicts that again, like are other drugs, heroin, meth or whatever, right? Like there are times when they need to be prescribed certain things. Like I think is Canada, you guys have the drug clinics, right? Where you guys deal with addicts in that way. And so like, instead of just being like, just get off of it, you need to stop. And it's like, well, there's going to be consequences for that, but that goes into a whole nother territory, but yeah, I agree.